Greetings to my little Guzzling Gourmets. So, in preparation for tonight's menu, which is Asian, we're going to make a dessert, a sort of dessert. We're going to make some little mini egg tarts, which are quite common in Chinese bakeries, I should say, I suppose, and other parts of Asia. Okay, so we're just going to make these little mini egg tarts, and then they will be for later on after we have our main course. So we're going to start by making the pastry, if you like, the crust. So for that, I've got 130 grams of plain flour. Okay, I've got an egg yolk. I've got a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. I've got some butter. I've got 84 grams of butter. And I've got some icing sugar. I've got 34 grams of icing sugar. Okay, and then obviously I'll need some flour for when I do my rolling. Okay, but we're going to let this dough chill for half an hour in the fridge before we roll it, and then we obviously need to make the egg custard filling. Okay, but obviously the dough comes first. So I've got my flour already measured out in there. I'm adding my sugar. Adding the sugar, the salt, and the butter. Okay, and then what we do is we just basically come out, mix all that together to form a bit of a dough. Okay, and then we'll be adding the yolk in after that. So I'm just going to get this all mixed in. Right, so just about blended in all that butter, so we haven't got any obvious lumps of butter there. So we got like a coarser flour, or a coarser powder if you like. So now I'm just going to take that egg yolk, and in that goes. Okay, and the idea is now, some of that egg yolk don't want to come out. Okay, is we're now just going to continue mixing this all together to blend this into a nice dough. Okay, which we'll know when it's done because it will stick together into a nice ball. Okay, so we've got our short crust pastry dough into a ball, and what we're going to do is just going to wrap this up now, and this is going to go in the fridge and chill for half an hour. Now see if I can find some room in the fridge to put it in there. Okay, so while that's chilling, what we're going to now do is start preparing the rest of it. So I've got a muffin tin, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, this will probably make about 10. Although these are quite deep, so it might make even less than that. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm just now going to spray these and just make sure they're coated on the inside. It shouldn't really stick, but we don't want it sticking, do we? So I'm just going to give it a very light covering with some of the oil. Okay, and then you're going to need, obviously we need the flour for when we roll out the dough to go in there. For doing the custard on the inside, you want a couple of bowls because we have to do a little bit of transferring about. Okay, you want some vanilla extract, 1 whole egg, 3 tablespoons of 3 tablespoons of milk. I've got some ordinary granulated sugar there, 40 grams, well actually I'm using caster sugar, 40 grams of caster sugar. I've got a cookie cutter so that I can cut them to the right size to put into there. And the only other thing we're going to want is 5 tablespoons of hot water, but obviously I'll get that when we're ready. So I'm just going to get me dish things, me pan thing done, and then we'll start making the custard. Okay, so like I said, we want into a bowl, small bowl, we want 5 tablespoons of hot water. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then into that, I'm going to tip that sugar, you measured out earlier. And then we're just going to mix this up until the sugar's dissolved. And then we're just going to put it by to let it cool, right? Because we don't want it that hot. Okay, So that's the sugar done. Okay. Let's make the other half of the custard mix then. Okay. So we want about 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla essence. Okay. So, whoops, drop the whole bloody lot in. Okay. So in that goes. We put the milk in, and then we want to put our whole egg in. Break that one. They normally just break really easy. End up breaking all the yolks up. So we're then get that off the hands. Just going to whisk that all up together. Okay, get that all mixed in together. Now these make quite shallow little tarts. Okay, there's not an awful lot here, so we won't be fully filling them pie things with crusts. Okay, so we'll want a smallish cookie cutter, as long as obviously we've got a bit of a lip on it. And now we take that sugar syrup, as it were, in that goes. And we just throw that bowl. I wanted that bowl, because to make sure it's nice and smooth, because there's obviously a danger if that was too hot you could have cooked the egg. We don't want that. We want this nice and smooth, but to be honest, I think this is alright. What you perhaps want to do, if you wasn't sure that it was nice and smooth, just strain it into that bowl you just tipped sugar out of, and then strain it back into this bowl, and that should remove any bits. But to be honest, this all looks perfectly adequate to me. So I'm just going to whisk this for a little bit longer. Okay, we will come back and add a little bit more later. Okay, a little bit more whisking just before, obviously, we put it into our flan cases or whatever we call them. Okay, so we remove our chilled dough, and what we're now going to do is put it onto a lightly floured surface, and we're now going to attempt to roll it out. Now this is quite a dry pastry. I did add another egg yolk when I was mixing it, because it was just too dry. And this is the problem when the ingredients sort of just say one egg or one large egg or whatever. That's fine, but they do all vary in size. So what is better is if you can get the weight in grams, but unfortunately this recipe didn't come like that. Okay, so it was obvious that it was just not enough, so I had another yolk, and to be honest, I think it possibly could have benefited from another one. But anyway, we're going to roll this out, and then using a cookie cutter, I'm just going to cut some circles, and then I'm gently going to press them into the bottom of the dish. And like I said, these aren't meant to be really deep tarts. These are just mini little tarts. Okay, so I'm just going to continue like that until I can fill as many as I can out the dough that's there. Okay. Okay, so that's made about 12 shallow little cases. So I'm just going to give this another little whisk up. Now, these aren't very deep, so these won't take as long to cook. If I'd have made them slightly deeper, okay, obviously then we might have wanted longer to cook. Now, the other problem is, of course, I need to make sure I only get a tiny amount in there. So I'm pouring it in, do not fill it to the brim, like I just did that one. Okay, you just want a thin layer into each one. Okay, because this will rise up. So in the meantime, I've got the oven on. The oven's on at 190. Okay, so I'm just going to finish filling these and then we'll bake them. Sitting here talking to this and then realise I don't turn on record. So they've got them filled. Okay, so I've still got a little bit of mixture left over, so I could bake some more. Okay, because like I say, I could have made these deeper. And now this is going in, and we'll keep an eye on it. Okay, could take anything up to 30 minutes, but you need to keep an eye on it, because if it starts rising up too quickly before the custard inside has had a chance to cook, what you need to do is, and I realise I forgot to prick my pastry. I should have pricked my pastry beforehand, so I might have a little problem with lifting there. Whoops. So I'm going to give it 10 minutes and then I'm going to check on it. Now, like I say, if it looks like it's filling up and starting to bubble over, just open the door for 10-15 seconds, let a bit of heat out and then close it up and carry on cooking. Now, if you put a toothpick into the middle, okay, we can test it just to see if it's still cooked in the centre, and if it's not, obviously we leave it in longer. Okay, so these have had about 20 minutes, okay, and I've had a quick look, turned them around once, and it's not the most even thing to cook in my oven, okay. I can turn that off now. Now, if I take a cocktail stick, now unfortunately I've got some, well, like I said, I forgot to prick the pastry before I put it in. The pastry's risen a little bit, but if I check the custard tart itself, okay, I can stick that in and it stays in. That one's the pastry's come up. So what we're going to do is just going to let them cool in that for a little while, and then we'll gently ease them out. So there's my little egg tarts all out. Still a little bit warm. Okay, and this is the one that crappiest one, so I'm going to try this one. I'm going to sample this one. Not an awful lot of egg filling in this one, part of the reason why I'm tasting it. So this is a little bit more short crust pastry than it is egg filling, but nice sweet egg custard filling. Very nice. It's a nice little snackette or mini dessert. So there's your Asian or Chinese egg tarts.